Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Crafty Princess Diaries podcast. My name is Tammy, Powley, aka the Crafty Princess, and you may hear some extra noise in the background, more so than usual, because I'm in a different spot than I usually have been filming. I'm not home alone today. Okay, it's the weekend. I was actually been trying to podcast a couple of times this week during the week when I was home by myself, but it did not work out. And then I thought I was going to podcast tomorrow, but then I had to go see a friend of mine who's ill and try to make her feel better. And I just don't see me coming home after that and having time to do this. So I finally thought I'm just going to do it, even though my husband's home, the washer and dryer's on, my cats are running around, my dogs might bark. So just please bear with me as I work through this episode, because I have lots of goodies to show you. I also have a few announcements. One, of course, is that in my Ravelry group, I have the usual finished objects thread. This one is, of course, for July 2015. And if you go over there, you can enter to win just by showing us your beautiful crafts. It doesn't have to be yarn related. Anything that you have crafted and you can show a picture of over in the group. And you can enter as many times as you want. And the prize for that particular giveaway is a book called Best Vests, and it is a knitting book. And I've done a review of it on my tammypowley.com site, so if you go over there and look under the good books category, you can see my thoughts about that particular book. And speaking of giveaways, I have a giveaway going on. It started actually July 17th, and I have a video about that I'm going to link in here someplace. But basically, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, if you already have even, then you are entered to win, and I'll be drawing prizes for every 10 new members through the end of the end of August 31st. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Go over there and watch that video. It's only like 2 minutes long. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. And for the new subscribers, I want to say hello and thank you for coming by. Cassandra Gore, DebCom34, Vicky Hebo, Smitherson Jones, and Carrie Willis. And if you're new to my podcast, thanks for stopping by. If you're not new, thanks for coming by again. And if you have been on my YouTube channel, then you know that I have, like, every couple of weeks I do a sort of a podcast. I call it a podcast, and it's a craft podcast, and I'm just kind of showing you stuff I'm working on, talking about things I'm doing craft related in my life. And then I also have various informational videos, and in fact one of the reasons why I've not had time to actually sit down and just do a podcast is because I have been recording a lot of other types of videos. I actually started a series, or will be starting pretty soon, an Amigurumi success tip series, because I have a lot of people who are always, they see the Amigurumi stuff that I make, and they're always like, oh, that's so cute. And even people who already know how to crochet and knit will say, oh, I couldn't do that. It's too difficult. It's too fiddly. And I just, I don't buy that. Maybe you don't like to do it, which is cool, but it's not necessarily impossible to do, and it's actually pretty easy, and I really like to do it. So I thought I'll put together just a series of very short tips, 1 tip per video, so that will be coming out soon. So speaking of amigurumi and finished objects, here he is, one of my finished objects. He's so cute. Look how cute he is. Hello. This is Sprocket the Rocket. He is a Fresh Stitches paid for pattern. I can't remember how much I paid for him, but I think the pattern was like maybe $5 or $6. Usually on that website, her paid for patterns aren't a whole lot more than around $5 or $6, unless there's something else, like maybe she has some ebooks that you have multiple, like for example, she has an ebook on how to make these dolls. And there's multiple dolls that you can make. So it's more, if it's more than $5 or $6, there's a lot more in the pattern than just one item. So anyway, this is the robot I made. You can see him. Here's the back. This is different, because it's square. So usually everything I've been making amigurumi is usually, just kind of round like this. Oh, and I did follow the pattern pretty much except for his legs. She has the legs coming straight out so that he is still sitting, but I made the legs floppy like the arms are floppy. And then another amigurumi, and I know you guys can be really shocked. but I made another Blair the Bunny. And I had some leftover Lion Brand yarn from it's called the Ice Cream brand that they have now, the Ice Cream Lion Brand yarn. This is in the banana split colorway. I had some left over after making the hippo, which I showed you, I think I showed you in my previous podcast, maybe episode 23. And I knew I had enough to make this guy. So, and I wasn't sure if I had enough to make anything bigger. There was a teensy bit left, so I might have, but I didn't want to, chance it, and I knew for sure it would be enough to make this guy. Again, I pretty much follow the pattern, except for I used a size G hook because this yarn is sport weight, and the pattern, again, a paid-for pattern, fresh stitches, Blair the Bunny, calls for a worsted weight and an H hook. And this guy, he's made with Brava yarn from Knit Picks, and it is a worsted weight size H hook. And the colorway is called Silver. They actually have a couple of different other types of grayish colorways under the Brava label over there at Knit Picks. So this guy's the Silver colorway. And both of these little Amigurumi children I made for my college craft club. We have a boutique that we usually have around November where we sell items that we have crafted and donate the proceeds to various charities. And we don't have a lot of the larger amigurumis, I realized. And honestly, this fall when we start school back up, not sure what my membership's going to be like. I think I've lost some people who have graduated, and I might be starting at square one. So I thought, well, probably a good idea for me to go ahead and make some just as a backup, just in case I don't have a big crew this semester. So those guys are good to go. Now, as far as whips go, let me check my notes here. Oh, yes, if you follow me on Instagram, and by the way, I'm just Tammy Powley over there, as well as pretty much everywhere except for Ravelry, I am Crafty-Princess. But every place else, I'm just Tammy Powley. And let me put this down here. All right, so if you've been following me on, or even Facebook too, I think I showed this on Facebook and also Tumblr. I've had to do a reboot on a shawl that I've been knitting. Let me find the pattern here. It's a free pattern. I don't know how to say this, Das Tuschel. Okay, you can find it through Ravelry. It's a very easy, super simple, basic garter stitch increase pattern through, as you go up. But I was working on it, and I was using some Cascade, Cascade Heritage, what's the name of it? Cascade Heritage Paints, silk paints. Okay, so it was a mix of wool and silk, mulberry silk, I believe, and in the water lily colorway. And let me show you what happened to the yarn. This is now the yarn because I was working on it one night. I had lots of little pieces like this, and I had already kind of tucked in the dogs into the bedroom when they were sleeping with my husband, and I thought, well, I'm going to stay up a little bit and do a little bit more knitting. And dummy me left my project bag in the room where my dogs usually hang out kind of during the day. We have a very large, I guess you would call it like a family room, TV room, where they hang out during the day. I don't let them run around the house. It would be a mess. It's not. And so anyway, I left it in there. Husband didn't see it in the morning, but somebody did see it, and I think it was a little dude. I don't know for sure. Nobody has confessed. So I'll put a picture of what it looked like after somebody chewed a hole through it at the end of this video, so you can see. And then I frogged it, and this is what I had, all these parts and pieces left over. There's a few balls in here, so I mean, there's some of this is still usable, but I don't want to make a shawl with little, I mean, I got tons of these little things, so not exactly sure what's going to happen with that, but I still wanted to make, the shawl, so I started over again. Oh, and luckily the needles were not damaged. I'm using Knit Picks Rainbow needles. Let's see, did I write down the size? They're US size 8 on a circular cord. Okay, so I restarted it, and this yarn is actually hand-dyed yarn from Leading Men Fiber Arts. I got one of their, I've rolled all the skeins, but I got one of their mini skein packages where there's 5 different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so you get 5. Here's, I don't know if you can read that, but that's the little label thing. So it was in Showstopper, which is basically their sock yarn. Fingering weight, 75% merino, 25% nylon, and it came in a bunch of different colorways. I started with the red, which I think is on this list is called Director's Interpretation, which means it's kind of a one-off skein that they don't repeat. And then there's this kind of a green colorway, which I think is, I wish they would have put just the color next to it so that would make it easier. Red, green, orange, yellow. I think this is Damn Straight. This one is like a blue, dark blue. I think this is Man of Mystery. This one has got like yellows and purples and greens. And I think it's Boyhood. And then kind of a burnt orangey color. This is unusual. I believe this is Tequila Sunrise, but don't quote me on that. So anyway, so I balled these all up. They're ready to go. And I think what I'm going to do is just do one color at a time, starting with the red, and I would like to end with the blue. Obviously, when I get to that point, the blue is going to be much, thinner, the stripe, because it's going to grow. This, you start here, and then you just increase, and so you just work in a triangle, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, anyway, yes, rebooting the shawl. And I do like the yarn, this yarn. I have used their yarn before, and this is going to be kind of fun because this way I get to have different yarn every so many inches. I'll have a different type of yarn to play with, so I kind of like that. All right, so, and this is, again, see, it didn't help this time, but I've mentioned before that I really like to have project bags that have zippers on them, and they need to be kind of tough, because this is a 31 bag, which I don't think they have these anymore. But this has got a plastic liner. So even though maybe I didn't even zip it closed. I don't know. I would think I did, but he was able to get in here. And my bag's still okay. It's just the scarf got eaten. So, yeah, that sucks. All right, and so the other thing that I've been working on, and I've mentioned this, it's been a while since I've shown you guys, if you've been watching the podcast at all. But I don't even remember when I started this, but I started doing those mitered squares that everyone's been doing. And see, I don't have the instructions in here, but it's basically the sock yarn blanket that a lot of podcasters and other people are working on. The only thing is I do not make socks. I'm thinking of venturing into sock making, but right now I am not a sock knitter or a sock crocheter, though I have crocheted a pair of socks. It took me forever, and I do wear them, so I might start learning to knit some. But anyway, I don't have a lot of extra sock yarn, but I do have tons of amigurumi yarn, which tends to be acrylic worsted weight yarn, okay? And so I'm calling this my amigurumi scrap blanket. I wrote it down. This is what it's going to be called. I just decided to name it. And you can see what I did is I made one big mitered square, and then I'm attaching these on around it. I do know that those people who are making the traditional sock blanket mitered square tend to be, because the way the pattern is, it tells you how to make one square, but then it also tells you you can make the next square, and it automatically attach them, so you don't have to stitch them all together at the end. But the problem with that for me is that I have, so that you can see, like here I have yellow and green, and then I have another green one, down here, and some more yellow. So if I don't really know where, I don't want to have too many colors next to each other that are the same. So what I've decided to do, I'm also veering off, I am making a single crochet trim around each one. I'm using a size G hook and just doing single crochet. And then I started whip stitching them together, and I waited till I had enough to really start making something that resembles a blanket. And I'm just going to keep working on this. There's no timeline or anything, but like I said, besides the fact I don't have a lot of sock yarn, and I do have lots of little bits and pieces of amigurumi yarn, and I'm thinking of doing another one using baby yarn, so that might be kind of interesting, because I do have a few baby yarn ones, though I also use these and make cat toys. If you guys ever want to make some fun cat toys, you can put two together and stitch around them and stuff them with polyfill, or actually you can use leftover pieces of scrap yarn and put them in there with some catnip. And another thing you can do is just fold them in half, kind of like a fortune cookie or looking thing, and stitch them up that way. And my cats love these things when I make them. They are played with a lot. So anywho, that's the other works in progress I have. And I did show last episode that I'm working on some sandals for my grandniece who's coming to visit next month. I really hope I get those sandals made, but I stopped working on them because I'm using, in fact, I haven't done anything on them since I last showed you them. I have been having a lot of problems with my wrists hurting, and I think that might have started the flare-up because I'm using linen and cotton yarn and a very small hook. I think it's like a size D hook. So, I'm having to crochet very tightly with yarn that has no give to it. And, I might get to the point soon where I have to really cool it and unfortunately not knit or crochet for a while. I did have a day or two where I didn't do very much, and I haven't noticed a difference. This issue flared up a couple of years ago, and I have gone to the doctor, just a general practitioner, and they x-rayed my wrist and said, yeah, you're having problems with your wrist because you have bone loss and arthritis and you're old. So, what are you going to do? But, so I just cooled it on those. Not sure what I'm going to do. I just know that right now if I tried to work on them that I would not be able to do very much because the pain would get to me. And what's the other thing I'm looking for? Oh, hold on, got to get out a screenshot. I thought I had all the stuff here in this bag, but obviously I did not have this in here. Ugh. Okay, so the other thing I'm working on is, and this is an interesting little project bag. So full disclosure, I'm a unique presenter. I just do it as a way to get cheap makeup. Not cheap, but a discount on my makeup. I buy it, and then also I have a few friends that buy from me, and my sisters buy from me. So it's enough to keep me active, and I can get a discount on the makeup, which I really like their makeup. It's they don't test on animals. It's made in the U.S. Most of it's natural ingredients. But anyway, so one of their recent specials, they have these little monthly, they call them kudos, was you get this little bag, and it has these little, I guess you would use, I put a pen in there because I'm taking notes as I work on this project, but I guess you could put lip gloss or makeup brushes in there. And also there's this little pocket here, and my cell phone fits perfectly in this little pocket. So I've been using this, here's a little notions bag, it's a little Namaste notions bag, to work on a pair of wristers, and I'm pretty far along. This is a free pattern from Lion Brand called Wristers. Okay. I have it printed up, but I didn't print up the cover to show, but I think you can kind of see what they look like here. This is I'm almost done. I'm going to make it's a little bit longer, and then I have to do the thumb, but otherwise, there you go. Yeah. And if you get on lionbrand.com, it's a free pattern on there. Like I said, they're called Wristers, and the pattern number is, they're called All Season Wristers, W-R-I-S-T-E-R-S. They use sock ease, which I have used before to make these, and it works well. Then the pattern number is 80703AD. Let's show you that. This is one of my favorite patterns, and in fact, it's funny because since I'm knitting now, I really wanted to knit a pair of wristers versus crochet a pair. Get these puppies on so you can kind of see. Okay, so I really wanted to knit a pair, and I've looked and looked for patterns that I really just want something that looks like this, but is knitted. I can't find anything. Everything that I find that's knitted is either surprisingly bulky, or it's just too detailed. It's got like cables and lace and blah blah blah. It's like just, and I just want something that would be like maybe just stockinette. Oh, and I also noticed a lot of the knitted ones don't have, they just have like a hole for the thumb. But this one, at one point I'm going to attach the hook back on here, and I will crochet a piece to cover the thumb. And it seemed like many of the knitted fingerless glove patterns I saw didn't do that. So I thought that was kind of odd. So that was another problem I had. But anyway, oh, and this yarn is gorgeous. Here is the ball. And let me find I think I put it in the notions bag. Zipper, hold on. This is from Expressions Fiber Art. This is her Kismet colorway. It's called Resilient Superwash Merino Sock. And a few months, was it a month? Not that long ago, she had a deal where if you bought at least $40 in yarn, you would get a free skein. And I actually think I showed this to you guys, but I was going to look that up. I can't remember what episode that was, but it was just a few episodes ago. So it wasn't, I don't know, maybe if today's 24, maybe look around the 19 or episode 19 or 20, because I showed the skeins and they're gorgeous. Well, she had this one, this one colorway that I was dying to have called Blue Russian. And it had, if you're familiar with her, she will show you, like, she'll have a picture of something like a blue Russian cat, and then a picture of the skein yarn. It was beautiful. It had royal blues and grays. It was just, I really wanted it, but I kept thinking, I hadn't even tried her other yarn. So, because I had bought the yarn, I hadn't done anything. So that's when I said, and I knew I wanted to make myself some wristers so that when it gets cool here, I have them ready to go. So I started using the yarn. Well, lo and behold, she had another 40%, spend $40, get another free skein of yarn. And I spent, it was a one-day thing. I spent all day trying to figure out what's my other skein, because her skeins go, these particular, the sock yard skeins go for about $24. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll get the Blue Russian, and then I need one other skein. Do I want to have the same color? Probably not. I make a lot of small things, so having two of the same color didn't matter. So I looked and looked and looked on her site. I finally picked it out, and I go over to order it. Blue Russian's gone. I was so upset. Seriously, I was really upset. So hopefully she will have that back, because she has me hooked. I love her colorways. This isn't even something I like greens and purples, but this is kind of different. I don't know. It's very green. It's more of a lime green. I usually go for a darker green. So, but these are turning out. Look, that's beautiful. Really love how these are turning out. So I still was, of course, able to find two skeins that I liked. And when I get those, I will show this to you. I also bought another skein from, Desert Vista Dye Works. So just one. I've bought stuff from her before too. I try to be pretty frugal with my yarn purchases, and I've decided too, like I said, I was like, I need to start using the good yarn and make stuff for me, and I make myself a couple pairs of fingerless gloves. I've made a lot as gifts, and I have a few pair that I've made for myself, and I have worn those a lot to the point where they're getting really worn out. So and it would just be nice to have extra pairs. Like I could leave one in my office at school, maybe have an extra pair in my car. Because what happens, especially in Florida, like it'll get cold, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm okay. I'll just get a little sweater, I'm all right. And I get in the car, and I'm like, holy crap, it's freezing outside. And then you're in the car, and you don't have anything. So if I have something to keep my hands warm, then, usually I can muscle through the cold spells. So yeah, those are my whips and my finished objects. And let's see, other crafty news. Let me see, starting off, the big cartel shop that I opened, I closed. In a nutshell, I thought, what am I doing? I don't have time. I do not have focus enough to handle two shops. So, closed Big Cartel, just deleted it. And I am moving things over from there into my Etsy shop, which is not, my Etsy shop in the past, I've only sold jewelry related items there, finished jewelry. Like right now I have a couple pairs of earrings. a lot of beads and that kind of thing. But my shop is just called Tammy Powley, and I think my little banner says like Tammy Powley's, Crafty Princess Etsy shop or something like that. So I can really put anything I want in there. So if it's mixed up, it's mixed up. That's how I roll, as they say. So right now I have a massive 20-inch crochet doll that I made. So I'll put the URL of my shop if you want to pop over there and see it. And I'm going to start trying to put the URLs so that they're hot linked in the comments on my YouTube videos. I forget about that sometimes. And then what else do I have it, the Afghan, I believe, is over there that I made. Oh, and I think the hippopotamus is over there. But I have some bunnies and bears that I will eventually get over there. So that's some of my other crafty news. Let's see, what's the other thing? Well, I kind of mentioned it. I made those Amigurumi items for my college craft club, and I will probably make a few more. In fact, I think I'm going to make, out of shot again, sorry. I think I'm going to make another robot and use this color. This is called Peacock. Yeah, so it's a little bit dark, but I think as for a robot, it would look kind of cute and not just be gray. I mean, gray's cute. He turned out cute. I like him in gray, but I think it would be neat to do him in other colors. So this is kind of a similar, where people I think will still get that he's a robot, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm past the halfway point in my summer 2 schedule. I've been teaching 2 classes during the summer, and I'm past, I think we're in week 4, I want to say, something like that, out of 6 weeks. And then I will have probably about a week and a half or so before fall classes start up. So yeah, summer is zipping by. And then let's see, what's the other thing? Oh, the other thing I have been working on is, as you guys know, I mentioned this in actually a couple of videos where I have self-published through Kindle Direct Publishing my novel called Crafting Memories. And in that book, in that novel, the character is a crafter. And I really like the idea that she was a crafter. In fact, she's a professional crafter. She was an editor of that worked for a craft publishing house, kind of like Interweave, okay, as an example. So anyway, I like the idea of mixing the crafts with fiction, and I'm going to start, thinking. Well, I have already started another creative writing project where again I have a protagonist who is a crafter. And I'm looking into doll making. It's something actually I'm personally interested in. I used to collect dolls years ago on a very small scale because it's quite an expensive hobby. And I have a very small, I think maybe just like 6 little Madame Alexander dolls that my mom and dad bought me when I was a little kid. Like I think my first one, I was maybe 8 years old, and I got Beth from Little Women. So I have the Little Women collection, and I think I have, not the little boy though, not, was it Laura? Or Lori, the guy. I was like, I don't want the guy. But anyway, I have all the daughters, okay? And then I think I have Scarlett O'Hara, and they're still at my mom's because I really don't have a place to keep them. But anyway, so I've been doing some research on that, and I've been really interested in the tree change dolls. I don't know if you've checked that out, but if you Google tree change dolls, it's a really interesting concept, and a lot of people are taking old dolls and refurbishing them. And then I'm also looking at the Blythe dolls, and recently discovered I didn't write it down, the Pull-Up, Pullip. These are all dolls that are made from Asian companies that are like in Japan, China, Korea, companies that are obviously toy-centric. And people are sometimes either just buying the doll and then, they dress her up and they take pictures of her like she's out on the town. It's kind of fun. But a lot of people are working the dolls, they're customizing them. And in fact, I just found out that the pull-ups, you can buy a kit where you have all the parts and pieces. You have to buy some extra parts though, like a wig. And then you have to buy, obviously stuff too, like, paints and, chalk, and not chalk, but like colored pencils and that kind of thing to create their facial features and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of getting off on that research now. I need to refocus and get back to writing my story, but I have been finding it really interesting. And if you have any information about, customizing Blythes or the pull-up dolls, sometimes they're really hard to find. Like, you'll find vendors that have the kits, but they have like one kit, or Amazon has some stuff. What is it? Oh, Etsy, not Etsy. eBay has stuff, but it's really kind of, if you're not familiar with the terminology, I personally think I'm not always sure what they're selling. Like, are you getting the whole, what's in the kit, what's in the bag, what, and there's all these different types of heads and bodies. Like, they have different, like in 2003 they have a certain series, and then in 2004 they changed it to another different series, so it's a different mold. I'm finding it really interesting, and we'll see. Maybe I'll make a doll. I really want to now, but it's definitely not a cheap hobby. I can't imagine how some of these people, if you ever worry yourself like, oh, I'm spending too much on beads, or I'm spending too much on yarn, just Google some of these dolls and you won't feel bad at all. You'll be like, whoa, I'm such an economic crafter. You won't feel at all guilty once you see how much some of these people spend on fixing up their dolls, or buying these customized dolls, which go for big bucks sometimes. So, well, anyway, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. And again, as usual, if you have any comments or questions, put them down in the comments section. Or, of course, you can always message me, follow me on various social networks. And thanks for stopping by. Have a wonderful crafting day.